Pure, Michigan, you'll find us somewhere.
Good for you. All right, everybody. Dr. Dave is here. And again, the new thing in the 5th segment is the messages to my younger self. It's become its own little living entity in my guests. I'm doing my dad talk on YouTube. I'm doing a few more of my messages, doing more of my dad talks now, but it's more for my guests because it's a variety of different, well, just thoughts and things that you'd like to transfer back, either tell your younger self or telling younger people some of the experiences and some of the missteps that we make it. We're just trying to help you out. We're just trying to help a brother out here.
Yeah. You know, my son's getting married soon at 32. So we've been saying, come on, you know, get this thing moving along. He's been committed to this beautiful young lady for 10 years. And so they're finally doing it. And it got me thinking that I've really probably talked more to students in my career about advice than I have my own son. So I'm putting together kind of a list of these are things that I hope he can take into consideration and pass on to his children, I hope, down the road. So I've been thinking about this a lot. And so some of the things I've thought of are that, you know, never discount your failures and your challenges, because I think you can learn more from challenges and failures than you can from successes and wins. And so take them all in. They're never easy to go through, but learn from them, turn them into positives through learning. Another thing I try to remind people of, and this is something I was told from a radio legend of mine. I grew up in Muskegon. I used to listen to WTRU and Stanley J. Wallace. Wake up, everybody, booby. He would make all these really weird things. And, you know, that was, you know, we're talking the 60s and 70s, you know, so he was my hero. And then when I finally worked there, he was about at retirement. And I said, Stanley, any advice for a young college kid? And he said, well, I'll tell you one thing, just take it slow. Take it slow, take your time. Don't feel like you've got to jump right out of school, right out of college, whatever it is, and just become who you want to be. And I've kind of added to that advice over the years because I, like everybody else, was interested in making as much money as I could as a young person. But I was lucky enough to have to leave college early. Strange thing to say, but I left having taken all my majors, double minor. Strange. I don't know how that happened. And all I had to take was a few more general ed courses. And I left because I was literally hungry. I was tired of being sick and tired, and I was hungry, and I didn't have any money, and I just needed, and I had built up a $10,000 school debt, which to me back then, I think that probably was the equivalent of 100,000 today, you know, with inflation. So I took this job, and I was lucky enough to have a boss who could be a mentor. So I have then, over the years, I bumped into so many mentors as early as my high school days. A fellow by the name of Roger Scudder, my speech teacher, who failed me in speech. And he forced me to confront my fears of public speaking, got me involved in a little radio and TV program, ended up being my life. And I can't thank him enough. So, you know, remember that you need to find people who you feel can be mentors, especially when you're starting out your career, rather than just making money. You can make money later, but learn. You know, you've gone to school, you've only learned so much. You may be a lot smarter than me, and you probably are, but I'm a lot more experienced. So learn from an old person like me, like you, Tom, and try to find those people along the path. And if you're lucky to find a Roger Scudder, you're very lucky. I had the opportunity earlier this year to go talk to him for the first time in 40 years, just to say thanks. And that's another thing. Remember the people who you meet along your path. Remember them forever, and never let them out of your mind. Always remember to thank them at some point, because it might mean something to them as well, because they've meant so much to you. So those are just a few of the things I like to recommend to kids when I talk to them in school. And I'm going to put this in a little, I don't know if I call it book, but I'm going to put it in a little piece that I'm going to share with my son on wedding day.
That's so great. And I appreciate you sharing that. That's why we do this piece of the show now, messages to my younger self. Everybody has a different perspective. And what you just said about thanking your mentors, finding the mentors, connecting with people, connecting, especially nowadays, everybody, with our our kids are having a tough time with communication skills, interpersonal relationships, and the way that we help them and nurture them and not criticize them is by just listening to them and then offering advice if they ask for it. Don't offer unsolicited. I just did a dad talk about this. Don't offer unsolicited advice. Basically, what our kids want from us and the young people want from us, Dave, is to be listened to and acknowledged and respected. And
Yeah.
if we can do that, we got a shot with them. So,
Well,
yeah.
that's the other thing. You know, I talked about how young people need to learn from us. Well, we need to learn from them because they are super smart. These young kids, I go to talk to school kids as young as fourth graders. I am amazed at how smart they are and how much wisdom these little kids have. So we can learn a lot from them as well. And then I guess the last thing I would just remind everybody about is, especially when you're in a position like mine, you know, I get all the credit for what we do. I also get the arrows occasionally, but I get all the credit. And I can't thank my team enough because they make our Pure Michigan group very successful. So as you remember your mentors, never forget those people who surround you and make you who you are, because you're better off for it.
The voice you're hearing is Dr. Dave Lorenz. It's the messages to our younger self, and I thank you for that. Dave, what's our take?